what I'd like to speak to you about is it's something I've become quite aware of myself. It's considering the fact that I'm nearly 40, not far off 40, I can feel my body taking longer to recover. It's taking me longer to get going in the morning. Even though I train a lot, it's taking me a lot more time and effort to maintain a level of fitness. I'm only nearly 40. So it's getting harder, and obviously you're a fit guy, ex-Marine, well, former Marine, worked in the prisons, did private security, that's where we obviously met. And you train all the time, and we did a lot of sessions together. I mean, you're doing all the tyre flips left, right and centre, and obviously you had a bit of a health scare last year. Was it last year? Late last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just
May.
Yeah.
May last year.
So it was interesting. What exactly happened? Like from, because you got out your car in the car park, didn't you? And then had you wobble. What was to walk us through it?
I just started for shelter. In fact, I've been working shelter for a couple of months before, and we got a new driver on, and I was training him. So we went through. We were in Preston. We'd done a couple of drops. I've got no memory of this. My memory, even 3 days before, is completely wiped. I'll explain that in a minute once I go through this. But anyway, I was driving. We pulled over to the side. The engine was still running. God knows why. I don't know. You know, we'd done our drops, our pickups, or whatever. And then I just died. It's just like turning a light switch. 1 minute I was alive, no warning, no nothing, and then I was dead. This guy kind of panicked because he hadn't seen anything like that before. The engine was still running, and he had the foot on the brake, sort of, and he had to announce to turn the engine off, obviously put the handbrake on, and then he run round to the other side. You know, I'm dead. I've stopped breathing. My heart stopped, and he's trying to pull me out of the cab. As he's pulling me out of the cab, there was a guy that was he's from Manchester, a guy called Daniel. He was picking somebody up, which was a stroke of luck for me, and the guy was late, otherwise he wouldn't have been there. Got me out, and he started doing CPR on me. Then a random woman turned up. You know, people stopped the cars because it was quite. I think it was near Blackpool Road in Preston, right, which is quite a busy road.
It's a busy area.
So people got out and they were assisting. I was still technically dead, even though it was pumping my heart just to get the blood round through my brain and doing all that. Luckily for me, there wasn't an ambulance strike or anything, and bang, paramedics arrived. They started my heart, obviously, boom, give me the paddles, start my heart again. I'm still out of it, obviously. Get me in the ambulance, and whisk me off to RPH. Get to RPH, pulled up a casualty there, and I died again. So my heart stopped breathing, my heart stopped beating. So they paddled it again, while I'm still in the back of the ambulance.
So this is a second or third paddle?
This is the second.
Right.
So this is a second stroke, heart attack, if you like. So obviously the doctors there were like, whoa, this is the second one. And they're in contact with Blackpool. Mm-hmm. And Blackpool's the biggest cardio heart attack thing.
Was it? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's the biggest one in the Northwest. And the specialists there, like the guy operating it, I'll cover that later, they're pioneers in the work, if you like. So they phoned Blackpool, and luckily for me, the consultant there, he said, bring him. So obviously zoomed down, blue light it to Blackpool, getting me out of the ambulance, heart stops again.
Fucking hell.
So
there, go at this point.
Third one, paddle, started my heart again, took me straight into obviously their emergency side, not an operation, and put a stent in my heart. Basically it's like a balloon, you push it in, I think it's the top of my arm, and it goes round and it widens one of my arteries, and then put me in I was still out there, put me in an induced coma. So obviously my wife's been contacted and people are panicking, you know, my family, all this kind of stuff, because, you know, they don't know whether I'm alive or dead.
Well, you would do, wouldn't you?
So straight into intensive care there in an induced coma. When my wife got there, the specialist there said, well, you know, he's in a bad way. We don't think he'll come out of the coma. And
he said that to your wife?
Yeah. And if he does come out of the coma, he's going to be brain damaged. We don't know how badly brain damaged he will be because of the time between the paramedics first arriving on scene.
Yeah.
So his lack of oxygen to the brain. So they're really worried about that. And then I'm basically in intensive care in a coma for a week. All my family's brought down, my brothers, sisters, to say goodbye to me.
Okay. And you're unconscious at this point?
I'm still in coma.
Yeah.
But they used to have a nurse sit with me, basically doing shifts, basically 24/7, because I was fighting all the time. So people think that when you're in a coma, you're just like out. Well, all intents and purposes, I was, because my eyes were shut and everything. You know, to me, I wasn't.
Did you hear anything in coma? You hear sometimes people in comas do
nothing.
But
I was fighting, so I kept trying to pull out the ventilators and pull out all the wires.
Physically fighting.
Yeah,
right.
physically fighting, which I've never heard of before. And my missus said that was quite distressing, because I was like lay there and I'm just fighting. And that's why they had to have a nurse sit with me to hold me down, basically. And she said some of them, when they finished, even the male nurses, were like, that was a long shift. And then the first thing I remember was a week later, and I'm just sat in a chair like this. I'm just like, what? What's going on? And the door opens, doctor comes in, and he's just glaring at me. I was like, hiya.
First time the senior awake, sat up.
Yeah. And obviously I'd come
Where's
out,
my
but
breakfast?
I don't remember coming out. I don't remember them taking the tubes out. I don't remember any of that. I just remember just being sat in a chair. And the doctor comes in, and he went, how are you? So I said, I'm fine, Doc. What's the problem? He said, you know what's happened? And I went, well, one of the nurses said I've had a heart attack. He said, you've had a bit more than that, and then explained everything. And then he's still looking at me really funny, you know, and he's like that. He said, you shouldn't be here. I'm like, sorry. I'm just, you know, you just laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you always know of worse stories, don't we? Especially with our backgrounds, we know some horrendous stories. So it's, you know, you just like, well, you know, it's one of them things. And he went, no. He says, what's your name? Started asking me loads of questions. How many children have you got? Everything he knew. And he's still looking at me. And he's like, and off he went. And he was like, next thing Jill arrived. So she come in, I went, hi babe, straight away. And she's like, shocked.
It's out of the blue.
She's like, do you know who I am? Everybody that come to see me, within that first 12 hours, it was like, do you know who I am? Do you know where you are?
So even though your brain had been off, there was no loss of normality. You felt normal.
I felt normal. I felt a bit strange, a bit weird, but not
no more than normal.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
There's a few things like when he actually did the open heart surgery on me and all that, which was really weird. But it was like, you know, I'm like, did I see a bright light? No. You know, and well, you know, what was it like being dead? It was nothing. You were dead.
No.
It's no recollection of it. You know, and afterwards, when they said, oh, your memory will come back, because I do not remember it. The last thing I remember, because this happened on a Tuesday, the last thing I remember, I was in Manchester on Saturday night at a gig with my son. So we're going to see the Yard Act in, where was it? Band on the Wall in Manchester, the top end of the Northern Quarter. And every time I go into Manchester with my lad and go and see a gig, we'd make a night of it. You know, really get on it afterwards. And usually, I'd get the train through and I would have stayed at his house and this and that. And we do make a night of it, you know, early hours in the morning. But,
yeah, you always like the shows, haven't you?
Yeah, I love all that kind of scene. And for some reason, I was really toned down that night. And then I said, right, I'm getting the train back. And I was like, you what? I said, I'm going to get the last train back to to Leyland. So I phoned Jill to pick me up from the station, and she was like, yeah, fine. And I remember being at Piccadilly Station and waiting for a Blackpool train coming along, and I remember the train coming along that, and then Index. I don't remember getting on the train, don't remember anything else, so that's Saturday night, Sunday, total blank, Monday, total blank, Tuesday, obviously, total blank. And then a week on top of that, which obviously you don't remember.
I mean, you said before, and I kind of agree, and I think a lot of lads from all backgrounds will get it, when you said it didn't really scare you, the whole thing didn't really scare you. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'd feel the same, because it's just life, isn't it? But for a normal person to hear that, it's pretty out there to not be worried about, obviously, dropping.
Nobody wants to die, you know, unless you're a fucking manic depressive or something. You know what I mean? Or you got a death wish. Nobody wants to die, but also it was like, okay, it's just, you know, it was like a peaceful death. You know, like you say, you know, have a good life and then have a good death. Have you ever heard that saying? When people have mentioned it about, you know, having a good life, healthy, training, do this, do that, you know, try and be a bit sort of spiritual, you know, in a good way, try and be a good person, all that kind of stuff, and then die in bed. Go to bed one night, you know, you've had a couple of whiskies or whatever. Right.
The best way to go, really.
Boom. And that's it. And lots of people die like that, and I did. I just died in the cab. There was no, you know, like, screaming, the embarrassment of dying, you know what I mean? Some people, you know, you've seen it yourself, the, you know, people in
fear and
yeah, and it was none of that at all. And when I come out of it in hospital, when I was talking to the nurses, building up for me surgery, you know, the way I approached everything, they've not seen that on a regular basis. You know, maybe now and again, but you know, it's something that's not stuck with him. It was always like worry and panic, and you know, you're worried about this, Steve. You're worried about. I said, I'm not worried about anything. What are you about?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I was in hospital for 2 weeks before they did the op on me, and I'm just bimbling around, mate. I'm like, because they had the stent in, and I'm thinking I'm quite healthy, and they kept putting back the surgery. So he said, right, we're going to operate on you next week, and then a couple of days, no, we're not that back. We're not that back. We've got somebody else. And they kept saying, you know, obviously if an emergency comes in, i.e. like me, in an ambulance, then they had to work on them. And I'm like, yeah, cool, you know, just laid back. We always make that mistake. It's like, right, it's took him 5 days to recover. I'll do it in 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You know, it's built into us.
It is, yeah.
You know what I mean? All my injuries, everything like that, when I've had operations before on my shoulders and my pecs, bicep and all that. And when they said, right, you'll be out for 5 months, and I'm like, 2.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, you're fucking hanging out.
Still.
because you've not followed the fucking instructions. No. Because you think you're fucking better and made fucking stronger and all. And that was the same thing. So when they actually did open heart surgery on me, which was worse, because obviously my heart attack and everything else, I was out of it. I didn't know anything about it. And then bang, as soon as they did the open heart surgery, that when you wake up out of anaesthesia there, and you're waking up in intensive care and you're in fucking bits, it's horrible fucking feeling.
When you came back out of your coma,
yeah,
and obviously it would have taken a bit of time for like it to hit you what had just happened,
yeah,
like, would you not say there was like a fucking like an overwhelming relief that when you realised that you were dead and you came back, and then you beat the odds? I mean, they were telling your family that you're not going to make it, or if you do make it, you're going to be brain dead, and then you just flip the switch back on and you're back to it. And you know, it could have easily gone the other way, but you went the better way.
Yeah, it's you feel
nuts, isn't it? What the body can do, like when we're not even conscious.
No,
and it's fighting.
If I carried on doing maritime, because the heart attack was going to happen.
Imagine being on the ship.
I was dead.
Yeah.
If I was climbing up onto a ship, I was just in the water. I was dead. If I'd had that on board a vessel, I was dead.
Is that what they said? It would have happened regardless.
Yeah, there was nothing. My lifestyle hadn't changed or anything like that. I was still doing the same things. In fact, sometimes when I was on ship, I was training even harder than when I was here.
Yeah.
You know, it was hit and miss. So I can't blame it on training. I can't blame it on, right, I did too much deadlifting and did this, I did that. You've seen the way I train. Sometimes especially then, when I was training quite heavy, but I was having long breaks, I was doing it. I wasn't straining. There's training and straining.
And you're getting decent nutrition. I mean, a lot of people won't understand, especially a lot of the civilians that watch this won't get it, but like, I've seen when we've trained, it's not just a little doing weights in the mirror. We've done hard training sessions, tire flips, and they're blowing out your ass, and it's serious recovery time afterwards, and that's sort of training you're doing. And what are you now, 62? 62. Yeah, I mean, for anyone, for younger lads, they're tough sessions. I mean, I was blown out my ass on some of them sessions, well, most of them, all of them, and so when people say, oh, you just need to maintain your fitness, it's like, no, I was fit. I was keeping my fitness. I was eating right. I had my supplements. I was doing all the right stuff.
Yeah.
But it still got me. It's a weird thing that the body can just pack in fucking no reason or whatever the reason is. I mean, did you have a history of heart attacks in your family or your dad? Or?
No, there's nothing. There's nothing in there. And the thing was, obviously I used to smoke. So obviously the first thing people go, you're smoking. But I haven't smoked for 2 years.
And you didn't exactly hammer it. You weren't smoking all the time. No, you didn't smash it.
It's got to be like 2 years clear. I'd had the odd one when I stopped smoking, and I'd have the odd cigar, you know what I mean, and doing that, but I wasn't 20 a day or even 10 a day or anything like that. So that was, and I was never short of breath, and when I trained with you on the ship, I'd never train in mid-afternoon when it was the hottest, you know what I mean, I wanted to train in the morning, I wanted to train at night, I trained that, and I'd always done that ever since I was on the water. And I watch lads, looking back on it now, you know what I mean, it's like, how many of them are risking a heart attack? When they're 40, 50, 60 years old, well, there ain't many 60s years old, but when they're in the, 40s or 50s, training in the middle of the afternoon in 40-degree heat, and thinking, because they're soaking wet, that's better for them. And the thing is, no, it's not. And I used to always say, I remember talking to Tuffy years ago, Andy Tuff, and, I say to him, there's no way I'll train in the afternoon, when it's the hottest. There's not a chance.
It's a bit unnecessary, isn't it?
Because it's a heart attack waiting to happen, and it was just made as a joke, because I never thought I'd have a heart attack. And then, I look back on it and think, fucking hell, I fucking didn't.
What if they said chances of it happening again?
Well, when they'd actually done the op, because he did a triple heart bypass, the only thing bigger than a triple is a quadruple.
I've never even heard of the quadruple. Triple's quite a common...
Yeah, because you've got 4, and one of them's got a stent in. So they obviously didn't touch that. So that was the thing that was keeping me alive and stopping me out further heart attacks while I was in hospital. Because I was... Obviously, when I come out of the coma and all that, I'm like, right, when can I go on? I'm like, you're going nowhere. And I said, well, you might as well send me home and then bring me back for the op and do this. And like, not a chance. And I'm thinking I'm okay,
Do you think a lot of that mentality comes from the Corps?
Yeah. And we think we're above that, which is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair...
Obviously, it was inbuilt to me, because that's what the doctor said as well. He said, you were fighting and fighting and fighting. Even when I was in a coma, I was still fighting. Now, I didn't look at thinking, right, I'm quite strong, I'm a fighter, and this, that, and the other. But it's not, it's in your mind. And, that's what your brain, or your mind is
programmed, aren't you?
Yeah, to do that. Not like I'm physically going to stand there and go, right, punch to punch with somebody. That's not being a fighter.
No.
And you don't know until something bad happens when that side of it comes out.
That's what I say to people when I talk about the bootneck mentality. We talk about like fight or flight responses. When people say, "Oh, I'd have done this, me, I'd have done that," I'm like, you don't know until that split second where you'll instinctively choose one way or the other. And I think that's where we get a lot of our pride from, because we've been in those experiences, and you know how you react. So you've got a bit more pride. Like for example, Afghan and firefights. I know how I react in that moment. So I can say with relative certainty that how I imagine I would be in various circumstances. But again, you just don't know. And again, when it comes to something like a heart attack, and your body's reacting completely subconsciously. I mean, you're in a coma and you're still fighting, trying to pull leads out and stuff. It's nuts, isn't it? How your body works.
That's it. Because I said to me, Mrs, did you take a picture when I was in a coma? And she was like, no, that's why I need to take a picture.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know. You know, because they thought I was dying anyway. So it would have been like my death thought. Put him in a wide up. He said, you didn't look good. I said, well, you should have took a picture anyway. He said, well, I don't think that the hospital let us take. I said, yeah, you can just do a snide one, you know that.
Yeah.
I said, and gone.
Draw on your face.
That's you. But going back to that, the worst feeling afterwards is sort of guilt for other people.
Yeah.
Because one, what I put my family through, even though it wasn't my fault.
Same. Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm to blame for all this. My brother and sister, who'd, you know, my sister come from the Lakes, my brother come from Manchester. You know, they come together. You know, and my kids were talking about that.
Were you close with all them before? Or was it like one of them where you haven't spoken for a while?
I'm close to my brother. We've been close for a really long time. I used to go to United away matches with him and all this kind of stuff. So we're quite close that way. My sister is on and off. So we became closer afterwards, after I'd had a heart attack, because it was a near-death experience, if you like. And I kind of looked at things a different way. You know, that. But, you know, when Jill was telling me, they sat at my bedside, you know, the pair of them absolutely wrecked. And that's the guilt comes in there. And then I'm thinking, what are the kids going through? Because obviously the kids are there.
Yeah. How young were the kids?
Well,
they're adults, aren't they?
Yeah. My youngest son's 30. Yeah. My eldest daughter's 45.
Yeah. So they can
40.
process it, yeah.
But it's some of it, because my son obviously got hold of my phone and he just phoned round everybody that he knew, I knew, and he used to work for Port anyway, so he knew quite a lot of people. So he phoned round and spoke to them. And one of my friends, John Kay, he phoned him up and said, John told him the story, and John just went, "I'd be alright, Jack." You know, like everyone else was, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, I'm sorry to hear." And he went, "It'd be fine." And he's like, yeah, alright. And he went, no. He said, "He's a fighter, he'll be fine." Which, when they tell you afterwards, and you think, good effort, John, you know what I mean, for believing in me.
Yeah.
And he was just like, when he come to see me, obviously they got loads of people coming down to the hospital once I'd come round a bit, and it's great to see people, you know, and you can see the relief. Like I say, two of my mates that do the CP side, you know, the relief on their face. And they saw it. And
I couldn't believe it when you told me.
I'm as old as their dad. You know what I mean? And they're coming to see me, and I'm again still feeling guilty. I'm like, you know, that was kind of like emotional, because I'm not really an emotional person, but then you start thinking about that.
Puts a bit of emphasis on things, doesn't it?
That kind of hits you. But after the surgery, once we'd done the surgery and actually come out of that, and they had a few problems just afterwards, which I won't bore you with, but when I was in intensive care then, straight out, that was horrendous. Because you wake up and obviously they've chopped your sternum in half, so that's stapled together, and you're just absolutely in bits, pain. Obviously you're banging you with painkillers.
Why I wanted to talk to you about, because when you told me about it, I thought, shit, that's something I worry about later, because I spend a lot of time thinking about time and like realising my approach to 40 now, how fast the last 20 years have gone, and how quickly, as I said before, it's taken me to, my body is on the downhill slope now, I can feel it, as silly as it sounds. That's why, I mean, I'm doing a run on Sunday in Chester, and doing the Manchester Marathon next month. I've never done an organised marathon, I seen it come online, I was like, I'll do that, it'll give me a good challenge to aim for, you know, because you want to stay on top of it. But I'm very conscious now of treating myself better, and that's why I'm a lot more plant-based now for a start, because I'm trying to get ahead of the curve. But have you changed your lifestyle since you've?
Well, before we had the heart attack, I'd say I had a really healthy diet. I was intermittent fasting.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
So when I finished, obviously I had my meal, and then I was running through till lunchtime. Not a problem. You know, training wise, supplement wise, taking all the right supplements. Spirulina, you know, oh God, you know,
all the
chia
good stuff.
seeds, you know, geoberries, you name it, all that shit that I got used to on the water that we all used to take anyway, and then the fresh stuff, the berries and everything else I used to take. So I was quite healthy. Obviously, while I was in hospital, that kind of like went downhill a bit because everyone just brings you biscuits and cakes,
Yeah,
chocolates.
I imagine, from what I remember years ago, hospital food was fucking terrible anyway, wasn't it? And there's too many snacks.
To be fair to him, in the hospital, you have a menu so you could pick your meals.
But yeah, that's changed.
Once I could move around properly, you've got Costa coffee at the front, so it's like every time any of my mates would come in, I'll meet you outside Costa. So that was actually in the building. So you go to Costa, obviously you've got all
We walk in there with your little stick and your fucking apron with the arse hanging out. So Saul hit you afterwards. What's happened? Doctor's giving you advice. You said you'll do 5 months recovery in 2. Ignored all that. So what was your recovery sort of situation?
Yeah, when they said basically it's 6 months. So they said it's 6 months for your chest to bind properly, because what they do is they wire it, so some sort of surgical wire. So you've got staples in there, and obviously you can't stitch it as such. You've got stitches on
When it's
the
all
skin.
covered and the painkillers wear off, do you feel it? Like all the...
Yeah, it's a small. The scar's really good. You've done because
I see. Can you see it?
there's a scar on the top.
Oh yeah.
But
That's neat and tidy, isn't it?
yeah, when I was going into surgery, obviously before he knocked me out, and the anaesthetist is there, and obviously the girls that work in the operating theatre and all that, obviously the doctors are like, they're at the top of the game, aren't they? They're the other side just waiting for you. And they were having a laugh, saying, all right, we'll try and work around your tattoos, because obviously chest piece. And I'm just like, I don't care, just do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And when I come out, you know, a day later, that was one of the nurses in intensive care was saying to me, she's like, oh, you know, your scar's brilliant, and obviously I'm in so much pain that I don't really care. So you don't really worry about it, especially at my age, it doesn't really matter. But when I finally got discharged, which was probably about a week, 10 days after the surgery, I come back and he said, right, you know, this is what you can't do. I was struggling sleeping, so, you know, lying flat, it was killing. I couldn't breathe and everything else. That was hard for about 3 or 4 days, and then you kind of like snap out that.
How long before you got back in that gym? Because I know you'd have felt a little bit alright one day and been like, right, I can bash out a session now.
Well, that's exactly what I did, but it was got to be, because I just more or less finished the gym just before I had the heart attack. So I had everything in place that I wanted in there. So then I was just sat here, and Jill would go off to do some shopping or something, and I was still like in bits, sort of. I could walk around but still out of breath and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And she come in, and obviously I'm not here, and then she come in the gym looking for me, going mad.
Yeah.
You know, panicking.
What are you doing?
And I'm just sat in the gym. I've got the radio on. I'm just sat on the bench. I'm not training. I'm just sat there, just like looking around there. She's like, "How long have you been in here?" So I said, "Oh, about half an hour." So I'm just looking at everything.
I'm just looking at everything. Just looking at everything whilst wearing my gym clothes and sweating.
And then when I first started doing the sessions, obviously it's amazing how much you lose. The actual muscle loss was fucking hell. I've never lost muscle that quickly. You know, even when you've not trained, it just fucking fell off me. Shoulders, arms, everything. It just all disappeared.
So 6 months later, and you're feeling back.
Well, it's about 3 months later. Then I started training lightly, and I thought, right, you know, be sensible about it. just train light, don't train heavy. And then obviously I'm writing.
Well, I said to you that.
Yeah, I'm writing down what I'm doing and thinking, right, yeah.
Because you did max out a lot. You always, not max out, but you did go heavy a lot.
Yeah, but I go heavy in threes. So I was never maxing out. So I thought, yeah, I'm all right. And then to know what you normally work at, obviously I knew I was going to drop to a certain level, but I didn't think I'd drop below that fucking beginner's level in my eyes. And I'm speaking to my mates and like, what are you benching? And I'm like, I'm doing like 65, 70. And they're like, you what? I'm like, I know it's shit, innit? And they're like, no, it ain't shit, Steve. Fucking hell, whoa. What are you doing? What are you deadlifting? I said, well, I just like lifted back in and 150. And they're like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
And I was like, oh, yeah, it'll come back. And I'm like thinking, right, I'm going to be up to where I finished very, very quickly.
I mean, the muscle memory for you will come back.
Well,
but
it started going like that, and then it went fuck off right down. And the thing is, I trained too early. I'd gone back, and when I was just not disciplined enough to say, right, I'm sticking at 50k benching, and when I can do 8, I'll do 10 and 12, 15 and 20s, and stick at that weight, and don't go up. But
a lot of people would obviously, all your friends are saying, don't train, but I think some training is definitely better for you than just fucking doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people out there that'll just sit around do nothing. Like,
well, I've got a bike.
Push your body to.
So I've got an exercise bike upstairs in the spare room, and I was like, right, do a little bit on the bike, and then a few weeks later, I'm doing hit circuits. You know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that.
No. But generally now, you're feeling back on track.
So it's like there is a big fucking light at the end of the tunnel now. When I was recovering and I was still on the sick, I went to Preston North End. What was that? Twice a week to their heart recovery centre, and in the gym at Preston.
Yeah.
And you go in there and they set out a workout for you. So you've got about 10 people in there with you who are all basically on the same stage as you. So I'm in there and they're like, all right, and you do basically a circuit for 40 minutes. So it's like bike, fucking.
Well, and then they measure you.
No, you've got a heart monitor on all the time. They're all over you. 2 nurses in there. So when you're going round, and I'm like, he's saying, right, work at this level. So I'm working at a certain level. I'm like, this is fucking shit, this. Hitting it. And they're like, calm down, Steve, calm down, getting down. So I did that for like 6 weeks and then sacked it because it was just too easy. And he just kept saying,
mortals.
No, you're going too fast, slow down. I'm like, well, look at my fucking heart. I'm well within that range.
Well within.
And they're like, no. And the people in there were fucked, basically. I'm like, some of these were younger than me. And obviously they're not into training. But as soon as you start doing something, you want to lift more and more and more. You know what I mean? Doing shoulder exercises with no weights. I'm like, this is bollocks. And they go, here, there's your weights. And give me 2.5 fucking kilo discs. I'm like, there's dumbbells there. No, you can't use them. And then next week, they give me like fucking 5 kilo fucking discs. I'm like, I'm doing fucking 10s at home. Give me the 10s and let me work on the 10. And no. It's too much for you, Steve. So that was. But hopefully now, I've kind of like, I know where I am.
Good.
I know what I'm chasing.
I think that's a good place to leave it now. Obviously, time, and I think we're going to start running out of memory on the disc.
Tell me.
But I appreciate that, and I think a lot of people will.
Hope it's not too boring for you.
No, I think it's a good story because it's something I think about a lot, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that are feeling their body catch up to their biological age, regardless of the bootneck mentality telling them they can do all this stuff, that obviously all this amazing stuff we've done when we were younger. So no, it's a really good bit of content now. I'm happy.
How old are you now?
37. So. I'm young. I know I'm young, but when I say getting older, I'm talking about it's only the last few years
It's when you get closing in on 50, then you'll notice a change in your chemical imbalances in your body and all the fucking bullets that goes with it. And your recovering from injury. But because of everything you've done before, your recovery from injury is slower, but it's faster.